Hey you, do you want to cuddle? Today's guest tells me it can cure all sorts of ailments. He says we're sex obsessed but touch deprived. In fact, he's actually started a business selling cuddles. Come on, you know you want one.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, so much more importantly, you're a motivated business owner and you are ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful baby of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Now, that's exactly what we do around here, and it's around this time where I suggest it is a very big show. Well, it is, like it still is. Today's episode, big show, but it's a little bit weird. So if I didn't lose you at the top there talking about cuddles, that's good, because ahead of us, it gets a little bit weird, but that's all right. You will learn. Your marketing will improve as a result of spending time with me for the next however long. We're joined by a fellow Adam Lippin, a.k.a. the Cuddlist, and he has a very interesting story. He is starting an entire industry selling cuddles and helping other people sell cuddles. More on that in a minute. It's not the first business he started, by the way. He's a successful entrepreneur prior to that. Also got a motivational marketing quote that will feed your curiosity. Now, today's show lovingly brought to you by a couple of businesses. One is Net Registry, who get your online marketing sorted. Anything, websites, hosting, domain names, web design, you name it, they do it. And you can find out some exclusive listener offers just for you, the motivated business owner over at netregistry.com.au. And we're also made possible by the very motivated folk over at Key Person of Influence. Although a wacky name, it's a really good program if you want to become more visible, valued and connected in your industry. They've got some live events going on at the moment, one of which I'm going to. Love to see you there. More on that later, but do check them out over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Hey, here we go. As per usual, there is marketing GOLD just bursting, dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in.
Do you need a speaker for your next conference? Recommend Timbo to your event organiser. Or better still, book him. Tim Reid, that's reid.com.au.
And by stuck right in, I mean it. Like, let's not muck around. There are cuddles to be had. We've got to understand this a bit more. I do love it when people start a new industry, have the courage to, put it out there and see what happens. So we're about to be joined by this New York-based fellow. His name's Adam Lippin. He calls himself the Cuddlist, and he has started a business over at Cuddlist, cuddlist.com. Now, what he's doing, he's training health practitioners across America to add cuddling to their revenue stream. I'll let him explain why in a minute, but this is serious. Like, we're not talking naughty stuff. This is serious. And his website's serious and everything he talks about. It's all proven by science and all that stuff. I assure you, it's all above board. Even the cuddle parties he runs. Yeah, cuddle parties. Hey? Wink, wink. Prior to starting Cuddlist, Adam was the founder of a successful chain of restaurants called Atomic Wings. He has a particular penchant for buffalo wings. He's also a yoga teacher. Hey, now, just a quick warning. I do mention a couple of naughty words. So if the kiddies are in earshot, now's the time to give them a big cuddle and send them out to play. You done that? Good. Righto. Hey, I started off by asking Adam, what is his superpower?
Oh my goodness, what my superpower is. I guess my superpower is when I can visualize something, then I can make it happen.
Wow, just like that.
I think so, yeah. It seems to be when anything works for me, it's because I've been able to actually visualize it and sort of feel it. And once it's there, then I can sort of manifest it if I work hard enough.
Can you give me an example of that? Because I know for a lot of business owners, they actually struggle to take action. There's no shortage of ideas. They listen to these types of shows and they walk away going, that's unreal, I'm going to do that. But the actual taking of action can be quite difficult. So how do you apply that?
Well, I can start with my first business that I started is a restaurant chain called Atomic Wings, and it's all over the United States now. And I saw this need for buffalo chicken wings to expand out of where they were invented, and I just took messy steps. I mean, basically my process was, and it is now with Cuddlist, I start out with a notepad, and I scribble and I scribble and I scribble on it, and I write all my thoughts down, and I jot down like who I can call, who's sort of in the industry that I can think of, what are my resources, and I just collect data and information. And what happens if I'm still interested in it about a month later, and I can still visualize it, then there's a business there. A lot of times when I have an idea, after a few weeks, it'll sort of filter out because I've gone through the process and it's really not there for me. So when this idea of this cuddling website connecting certified professional cuddlers with clients came to me, and it was around for a while, and it never went away, the passion for it. And so then I did some research. I did some very basic things like, got people on Fiverr, researchers on Fiverr to sort of find out everything you can find out about the world of cuddling. I had someone research sort of all the regulations on cuddlers. I reached out to attorneys to find out the legal issues relating to it, accountants, insurance companies, et cetera. And so as it all sort of came together, then I started to put a little plan together on how I could make it happen.
That's really interesting. I obviously want to talk Cuddlist in a minute, but that whole idea of having a thought, having an idea, putting some effort into researching it, actually using Fiverr, which, what a cheap way of getting other people to kind of do some of the hard work for you in the early stages, to then sit with it after a month or two and go, do I still feel like I want to pursue it, or have I lost interest? I like that. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. That's definitely my process, because if I've tried to jump into something without letting it marinate and sit with it, and I know when I find something that can sustain my energy. And I don't trust myself the first week or two. I need to sort of live with it for a little while.
Is that because it's like a bright, shiny object? I'm a bit like that. It's like, that first week, that's just distracting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great ideas, but in order to make a great idea happen, for me, I have to be full in.
Cool. Now, let's talk about interesting ideas, because I think your career progression may actually outdo my guest of a few weeks ago. I had this guy on the show who went from being an aquatic ecologist, I don't even know what that is. He then became a policeman, and now he's a highly successful finance broker. I think that's a weird career progression. However, you've gone from starting the Atomic Wings chain of buffalo wing chicken marinated scrumptious goodies that are in Baltimore, New York, Springfield, all around the place, to starting a cuddling business. Just talk me through that.
Okay, well, first I want to say I listened to that interview and I really found it very enjoyable, and I tried to imagine myself being a police officer, and I couldn't do it. So that's not going to manifest for me.
Right.
So I've lived parallel lives, I guess I would say. I have always been interested in business and starting business, so that's like a constant for me. But I have this side of me that in college fell in love with buffalo chicken wings, moved to the city, Manhattan, and you couldn't get great buffalo chicken wings. And so Buffalo is actually about 8 hours away from Manhattan, and I would literally get on the bus, a Greyhound bus, and I would go to Buffalo, and I would ask a taxi driver to take me to the various buffalo wing places. And I became friends with some of the owners, and they taught me the trade. And I went back to New York, and I found a kitchen and a bar, and I just started that. And that was a labor of love and passion. And at the same time that was going on, I've also been a yogi, practiced yoga and meditation for many, many, many years. And the whole concept of health and wellness and sort of full beingness has always been my sort of avocation as opposed to my vocation.
Which is kind of weird because, like, the buffalo wing eating yogi kind of, does that sit right?
No, it really messed with me, to be honest with you. It was a conflict. It sounds crazy, but it was a conflict.
Yeah.
Yet, I had enough love for both, and I was able to keep it separate. And I turned 50 recently, and I decided that I want to do something else. And I want to do something that can integrate my life, my passions, as well as my skills. So I was thinking about something in the wellness, holistic field. And the world of yoga does not need Adam Lippin. The world of yoga is doing just fine. So I was looking around for, like, what is it? What's out there? And then I sort of realized that just my personality, I've always been a hugger. I've always sort of never got the whole just handshake thing, and I've never got sort of like the physical distance that we all keep from each other. Like, we're all sort of, keep ourselves very separate in that whole concept of appropriate space. And I started to think about the fact that in the States, and I'm sure it's very similar in most of the Western world, we're sort of obsessed with sex, and yet we're touch deprived at the same time. And also, in the major cities in New York, over half of the population, the adult population, lives alone, right? So there's a lot of people there who aren't getting their touch needs met. And they either have to do it through going somewhere that's sort of, more sexual in nature, and or they don't get touched at all. And yet touching in the safe, consensual way is the most natural thing on earth. We hug our friends, we see a baby, we comfort someone, and it's a nonverbal form of communication, which is deeper and richer than verbal communication.
Well, when we were born, I mean, for how many months or years were we just held and hugged? That at some point that stopped for many.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And yet your need for physical intimacy doesn't change, yet your ability to have that physical intimacy changed. So I saw this need to create that space between two extremes, between complete loneliness and isolation for many of us, to potentially people that act out in ways that they don't even want to act out, but they don't have any other way to be intimate, right? Mm-hmm. That there's this whole space that if you take an avenue of therapeutic, non-sexual healing touch. So in doing my research, I spoke to a lot of social workers, a lot of people that work with sort of survivors of trauma, people who work with disabled people who work with elderly people who work with people with anxiety issues, people who work with people who are just lonely. They want to help that person, but they realize that their ability, what they're quote-unquote allowed to do in the context of their profession, is not enough to fully help heal this person. So they intuitively got it. And once the social workers and the therapists and the people that do work with people in a healing modality said, this is something that I can really do, and I could really offer my clients this, and it would really help them, then that made it really exciting for me.
Was there a moment when, so you've gone and done all that research, you've spoken to many people, tell us, obviously there was that moment when you've gone, I am going to do this, and you jumped off the cliff? Yeah,
pretty much. And then for my webmaster from my Atomic Wing business, I called him up and I said, Joe, don't laugh, but you're doing this with me. And I told him the idea.
What's Joe like? Is he a big burly web developer, or is he a hugger?
Yeah, he's like your typical. He's like 25, and he's sort of like your typical. He's very bright. He's in user experience. So he's very sort of like that
metrosexual.
Tech. Yeah, but he's kind of like this tech guy who, is pretty a straight shooter, and it was really funny. So at first he was not really sure, and then his mother, who works in a hospital setting, he told her about it, and she said, this is brilliant. You have to do it. And so from that moment, he was all in. And so that's what happened. I said, I literally said, I'm giving you $5,000 to build a website. Let's get a minimal viable product going. And it turned out to be more than $5,000, but, we just kept on working, and I kept on building a team as I went along.
You're about a year. You a year into it. How old's the business?
Not even a few months into it.
Okay, so where are you at now? I want to talk about very shortly the actual whole experience, but just to give us a sense of where are you at now. Wrap some numbers around it if you can.
Sure. So right now we're in the very beginning stages. So right now we have 40 cuddlers on the site, and we're onboarding about 4 to 5 a week. Currently, they're paying a monthly fee of $30. What's happening now is we're shifting the model a little bit. So now what we realize is a lot of people want to be trained to be certified cuddlers. So we're now putting a value on that. I literally can send you the artwork, but Cuddlist Training Academy, where we're going to have workshops all over the country where we're not exactly sure how much we're charging, but going to be a valuable experience that's going to be worthy of being paid for. And so that's sort of the model going forward. So there'll be the training component in this Cuddlist Training Academy portion to make sure we're getting people that are on board, that are motivated, and that are sort of mini entrepreneurs in themselves.
Right.
So they currently have, an existing practice where they work one-on-one with clients. So that's sort of what we're doing now. So we're in the very infancy stage of it.
Hey, listeners, I am chatting with the cuddlist himself, Adam Lippin. Before I ask Adam to role play with me a cuddling session, yep, I'm going to do that, let's hear from a couple of businesses that, if they could, would give you a big cuddle as well. This show is made possible by Key Person of Influence, which, according to the Huffington Post, is the world's leading brand accelerator program. Now, they've got some very cool one-day events coming up with some amazing speakers. So I asked head honcho Glenn Carlson to pick his favourite. His answer may well surprise you.
That's horrible, mate. I'm going to have to say, while there's Matthew, who's built, the third fastest growing company in Australia, sold it for tens of millions. Valerie is obviously one of the best content creators in Australia, talking about profile. Tim, his company's built over $1 billion worth of value in his clients. Andrew Griffiths, 12 best-selling books. But, mate, I'm the MC. I'm the one that brings it all together. So, despite all these amazing speakers that have got incredible tenure in their space, I'm gonna say my favourite's got to be me.
Oh, you gotta love a big cheese that backs himself. All jokes aside, do your business a favour and grab a $57 seat over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Support for this show comes from Net Registry, a one-stop shop for getting your online marketing sorted. Verity Ma, their Chief Marketing Officer, recently told me this story of a very happy mechanic.
So one of my favourite stories of customers that I heard was a salesperson was talking to a mechanic, and he was talking about what sort of email he would like to have and what kind of hosting, whether he wants cloud or cPanel hosting. And the mechanic just said, look, I don't care, build my website, here's my phone number, make my phone ring and send me the bill. And that was the last we heard of him. He didn't provide us content. He didn't provide us any details about his business. We had his contact details. We wrote all the content and we just got his phone ringing and sent him the bill.
Net Registry, where happy mechanics go to grow their business online. Visit netregistry.com.au or give them a buzz on 1300 638 734. And tell them Timbo sent you. Okay, Adam, let's do this. We're not in the same room. This is an audio medium, but I need to go through the process of going and visiting a cuddlist. So I make my appointment. I roll up to their rooms. I'm guessing these people are natural therapists or healers of other modalities, and they've added. Okay, so they've added cuddling to their repertoire. I walk in. Is the first thing I get a cuddle, or what happens?
So before you walk in the door, you would have agreed to our code of conduct, and you would have an understanding of what the session is and what it's not. So you would understand that this is intimate, non-sexual touch and consensual. So you would know the groundwork before you go in there, and you would know the basic rules before you go in there. So once that's established, you would walk in, you would knock on the door or whatever, and the cuddlist would greet you, and they would say hello, they would orient you to the space, they would ask you if you want something to drink, and then they would sit down with you and they would start to ask you, why are you here? What do you want to get out of the session? And would sort of discuss the ground rules, and then go into the session. And so it can look very, very differently for different people. For some people, just being there, showing up is a breakthrough, and maybe just holding someone's hand and talking is enough. Mm-hmm. Some people would want, I want a big bear hug. I want a big cuddle. I want to lie next to you and just get spooned all, for the hour.
Oh, wow. So many questions. So many questions. So right there, I mean, you're going to have a lot of nervous people doing something that is very alien to them. Mind you, some people would be very open to it and they'd be running in to have their cuddle. But, for most people, a cuddle might be like, 3 seconds might be a long time. I hug my 2 teenage sons. I try and hold them for 20 seconds because I read somewhere once that at that point there's a transfer of something that is good for both of you. So for my 2 boys, that's what I do. But these sessions, what are we talking? Are we talking 30 seconds and you're out of there, or is it 30 minutes, an hour?
No, it's basic. You pay by the hour. It's $80 US an hour. So depending on, people book for an hour or 2 hours or longer.
No.
And the session is really driven by what the client's needs are and what they want to get out of the session and how they experience the session.
Adam, just get really clear here. Are we cuddling for an hour?
Yes, you can cuddle for an hour. You can take breaks. You can switch positions. You can talk. You can do whatever you want. And what happens is, after you get through we say this is a comfortable place to be uncomfortable. Once you get through some basic, uncomfortability, and we say, when the client and the cuddlist see each other, and when they really see each other and they acknowledge each other on a deeper level, then that's where the healing can really start, because that's when the client is able to open up and get out of the session what they, even if they weren't exactly sure what they originally wanted to get out of the session is. I've been through sessions where, that hour has felt like 10 minutes. And there's something physiological which happens to you during that period, and we can make light of it, and for some people it's just a lovely, wonderful experience. For other people it can be quite healing and quite transformative.
Wow. I've got, again, so many questions, and I know my listeners will as well, and I need to make sure I cover them all. You mentioned positions. You mentioned spooning. To me, a cuddle, I mean, that's, again, depends who I'm cuddling, but yeah, it's either standing up or lying down, and you have a cuddle, and that's it. Potentially, you can get into a bit of spooning action, can you?
Sure. You can. The concept is anything. So the ground rules are close down the whole time. I mean, and you don't touch any area that you would. If any area that would be covered up in a bathing suit, you just don't touch that area, right? So those are the ground rules. So within those ground rules, then you have complete freedom. The other thing is, there's full-on consent. So you would say, if a client, let's say you want to try something, you would ask and get a verbal yes before you do it. But basically, it's so PG or G-rated and lovely and heartfelt that's not an issue.
Okay. Elephant in the room time.
Yeah,
Listeners, get the kids out. Turn it down. Put the headphones on. Whatever you're doing. Boners. There you go. I've said it. Yeah. Boners, stiffies. I'm representing the men here.
Yeah. No, I get it. So it is possible for arousal to happen, and it is possible for attraction to happen. We're human beings, and two people are being physically intimate with each other. The rules are you don't act on it, and and so from a physical perspective, let's be real. You move, you shift a half an inch away. But really, the truth of it is, so you're in this very intimate experience, and potentially you're feeling aroused, right? What happens if you don't act on it? So our culture is so trained on acting on, we feel aroused, we must act on it, right? But what happens if you don't act on it and you stay with it? What happens is that feeling sort of dissipates and it shifts. And when that happens, that's really a transformative moment. So, for example, the first time I had a cuddle session, I was unsure what was going to happen if I had a boner, right? How was I going to handle it? How was I going to feel? Was I going to be scared, embarrassed, nervous? What was I going to feel? And what happened was I felt myself getting aroused. I noticed the feeling. I shifted my body a tiny bit. I held the position, and it dissipated, and I felt released. I felt beautiful, and that wasn't something that happened.
Okay, I hear you. What's interesting about this, because what are you? You're a franchisor. Is this a franchise or a license agreement? Whatever it is, you are employing people, or at least educating them and selling them the rights to use your brand. Boy, oh boy, have you, putting aside the clientele who may be coming in with the wrong intent, and you know, that hopefully is a minority, but what's your screening process for the cuddlists? Because...
Well, we do...
Yeah, go.
Yeah, we do criminal background checks on everyone. We have an insurance coverage, which is very similar to the coverage that if you employ home healthcare aid workers, you're sending people into houses. Similar coverage, and it's really not that big of a deal. For example, if you're a massage therapist, people are getting undressed. You know, everyone said, you know, the whole, you know, think about, you know, so people are used to being in physical intimate settings, but no one thinks about it.
Yeah, look, I get it. Part of me in having this chat with you, I feel like, I mean, I don't want to go to, you know, the idea of the elephant in the room and these questions that I'm asking. I kind of guess it's nice to be clear on them, but at the same time, I mean, I think what you're doing is actually quite beautiful, and I really genuinely hope it works, because I think you're right. I mean, you live in New York. I mean, goodness me, talk about a Sydney that, you know, a lot of people who haven't had that touch for a very long time, living by themselves, all that. That's similar to many cities around the world. So, mate, I hope it works. And
then imagine you're disabled. Imagine and imagine you're elderly and you're in, you know, a home for the aged and no one touches you.
Yes.
And just to have your face stroked, perhaps, or your arm stroked. These are beautiful moments that people up until now have not had the ability or the access to it.
It's kind of crazy the world's got to this, isn't it?
So I think, I never understood that. So that was the reason for this business. I didn't understand why we all just weren't going around hugging each other and comforting each other and being present for each other.
Do you ever hug strangers?
I hug strangers all the time. I ask, I say, can I have a hug? Would you want to hug me? Absolutely.
Oh, nice.
All the time.
Man, you should have done that you know, free hugs thing that guy did all those years ago and went viral.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, that should have been you.
Yeah, well, I've done my share of it, but I literally will see someone and I'll say, give me loving, you know, and I don't know, it's just intuitive. I don't even think about it. I mean, I understand consent, so I'm very careful not to just touch anyone, you know, that doesn't say, yeah, give me a hug, but absolutely.
Now, let's talk it from a marketing point of view. You have got something, and I've mentioned this idea to a number of people knowing that I was going to be interviewing you, and I would say the majority looked at me, and particularly women more than men, looked at me and gone, yeah, right, giving me that kind of look.
Right.
So marketing blockage number one, people think this is sexual. Marketing blockage number two, people don't know this thing exists, this thing called cuddlists. So how are you going about getting the word out?
Great question. And first of all, most of the clients are men. Women, just a quick thought. So women are relational in general, where they have a group of people that they use as a support group to discuss life issues and work issues, and they talk to each other and they hug each other, and women sort of have that sort of bond with other women that just, for whatever reason, they have it. Where men are what are called transactional. So a man needs something, they figure out who they can get to help them with that, and then that man's gone. And if they have friends that they've had for a lifetime, they play golf with, or they do something with, but they don't talk to them necessarily about their work or their relationship. I mean, there's some crossover. So in general, the clients are men, not women. So this is our challenge, and this is the question. How do you let people know what this is in a way to describe what it is? So our website and our marketing, I think, is very clear to give the message that this is a therapeutic, safe, non-sexual service.
Yeah, your code of conduct is very, very clear. I'm looking at it now. I'll post a link in the show notes. You know what your website's missing?
What?
Is photos of cuddles happening. And in fact, I mean, the fact that you can cuddle for 30 to 60 to 2 hours, I think you mentioned.
Hours, yeah.
Hours. I think it'd be really interesting to have a video or videos of sessions. I had a chiropractor on a few months ago, and he has gone to the trouble of documenting on video a number of patient treatments where he's taken them from being in incredible pain to being fixed, and he's documented this. They're quite long videos. They kind of break a few of the, we have short attention spans, but I wonder whether, I'd like to see some videos of sessions.
I agree, and we're getting them together. It's absolutely on the list, for sure.
So, back to this question, how do we get the word out there? You've reached out to me for an interview. Clearly, you've got a bit of a podcast interview strategy going on. I like that idea. But again, people aren't keying into Google, where's my nearest cuddlist?
Yes. So Facebook has been very, very important to us.
Yeah.
We also started a cuddle to this number, and then find our cuddlist on the website comes up. And Craigslist, believe it or not, has been really valuable. And we, in the major cities that we're in, we have little posters, postcards that we put out, and anything and everything. And right now we're sort of going through the analytics of what we're doing. So we're testing out. So we have like 5 or 6 different major sort of key messages. So we do a key message a week, and we'll do sponsored ads and boost posts, and we're just seeing what's working for now. We're now starting with some Google ads, and we'll see what happens with that. And one of the great things about this business, because it is so unique, is that it goes viral pretty easy.
Yeah.
And so that's been really happening. And we've gotten lucky with some good press early on. So that's been helpful. We don't have a whole lot of time, so I don't want to there's a lot of people in this cuddle community. There are cuddle parties. If you go to cuddleparty.com,
Is that you?
I'm a certified cuddle party facilitator.
Love it.
Cuddle party. And so I have 2 cuddle parties a month in New York City. So when those cuddle parties are being promoted on Meetup and on Eventbrite, who sponsors those cuddle parties? Cuddlist sponsors is Cuddlist. What is Cuddlist? Right? So any opportunity we have, so we do that. So right now, I guess there's Meetup, Eventbrite hosting these cuddle parties. And cuddle party is sort of having a cuddle party is, well, first of all, it's wonderful. And a lot of our sort of training and thought processes that go into Cuddlist stem from cuddle party. Mm-hmm. And so there's a whole network of people. So for example, there are 110 certified cuddle party facilitators in pretty much every major city in New York, in the country, in the States, and then around the world. Those people are our natural partners and our natural allies. So we're reaching out to our partners as ways to help disseminate the word. So they're telling it to and each of these cuddle party facilitators, they have a couple thousand followers and a couple thousand people that attend their events, and they have emails, and a network with. So we're reaching out and creating networks, taking advantage of existing networks that are out there.
Yeah, right.
So it's a lot of that.
I think, actually, as I think deeper about the marketing of this business, you probably you personally are wanting to attract cuddlists as opposed to clients, because it'll be up to the cuddlist to attract the clients. You really become an employer brand. Would that be fair to say?
It would be really fair to say. And in fact, one of the things that we're realizing is our major job is to make sure we're allowing the most qualified people to go through our training to be on the site, because they are our brand ambassadors. We're not a franchise, but it's almost like a franchise system in the sense that they, like you said, they're using our branding, they're using our marketing tools and our brand identity to go out there and have businesses on their own.
So you get paid, you make your money. Adam Lippin makes his money via, you pay to get listed on your website, cuddlist.com, and you charge people to get the cuddling training. Is that kind of your business model?
That's exactly
nice.
Exactly. Those are the 2 major revenue sources.
And Adam, you changed the world at the same time. This is beautiful. I want to finish by talking about something you touched on earlier, and it's sort of related, but you mentioned you have always lived a parallel life. Business owner, buffalo chicken wing guy on one hand, yogi, meditator guy on the other. And I think most of us kind of would have that dichotomy, some more than others. What do you say to people who are living parallel lives? Should they honour one side and drop the other? Should they continue to live it despite the fact that it feels a little bit uncomfortable? What do you say to them?
What a great question. Oh my goodness. Isn't that the question for the ages for every single person? You know, how do you want to live your life? The buzzword short answer is as authentically as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that it took me till I was 50, you know, until I figured out how I could put the two together. And so, you know, there's the whole sort of symbol of the yin and the yang. And I guess what I would say is you're not always going to be in yin and yang at the same time always, but do your best to be as integrated as you possibly can be.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, our lives are relatively short. And, you know, what's the point?
I think sometimes, so you're 50, I'm guessing you made a decent amount of money from Atomic Wings, which freed you up to launch into something like the Cuddlist, which is high risk. Was that a major part of your decision making, the fact that if this failed, you weren't going to be left financially destitute?
Yes. I mean, you know, money's certainly a reality. And so, yeah, I was able to do it. I was able to take the risk and do it at this point in my life.
Which is kind of not the answer I was hoping for. I knew that it was kind of going to be the answer, but it's like those people who don't have the safety net of cash flow, you know, who are living parallel lives. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is, and probably we won't work it out today.
You know, there's. I hear you, and I don't have, other than I think if you want something enough, you can manifest it.
Yeah.
And there are ways to make things happen with different amounts of money. And sometimes when you're really bootstrapped, when I started my wing restaurant, my wing chain, I literally completely bootstrapped it. You know, I everything was used. I hand wrote a menu. I begged, borrowed, and stole from friends and family, and that was, you know, really creative and really wonderful. I'm in a slightly different place now that I had a little bit of money to capitalize this. Mm-hmm. But I'm sort of at a loss with that particular question.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And you know, a big question. You know, we'll do a 12-month workshop on it one day together. Hey, hey, listeners, check out Adam's business. It's Cuddlist, cuddlist.com. Adam, are you on Twitter?
Yes, at Cuddlist and Instagram and Facebook.
Mate, I wish you all the best in changing the world. I think you're doing a wonderful thing. And how do we do this? Big hug, brother.
Big hug, and thank you so much. This was actually a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Well, there you go, team. That was Adam Lippin, the Cuddlist. Go and check him out, cuddlist.com, and be sure to hit him up on Twitter. Let him know you heard him on the show. I've got my top 3 attention grabbers following that little fireside chat with Adam, and these are brought to you by the good folk at Key Person of Influence, whose one-day brand accelerators, absolutely not to be missed. If I see you there, I'll give you a big cuddle. Check them out at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo and netregistry.com.au/Timbo for 3 exclusive packages to get your business sorted online. Now, attention grabber number 1. Think about how to greet your clients when you meet them. I'm not suggesting you hug them, but hey, if you're a huggy type person, go for it. But what do you do? Handshake, high five, eye contact, whatever it is, put some additional thought into how you are greeting your clients and your prospects and your suppliers and the media, whoever comes into contact with your business. Attention grabber number 2, use Fiverr to find people to do your initial research around an idea. I really like how Adam does that. Maybe get them to research your competitors, review their websites, their social media activity, trends overseas in your industry, all sorts of stuff that you're not getting around to doing. Head over to Fiverr, Fiverr.com. Fascinating website, that. Attention grabber number 3, have crystal clear rules of engagement. Let your prospects know this is how we do business. If you go over to the cuddlist.com, because of the nature of what they do, Adam's rules of engagement are crystal clear. Bullet point, really address all the questions that people may have, and it's really clear how you do business with a Cuddlist. So there you go. They're my 3 attention grabbers. What were yours? What was your biggest takeaway, your biggest learning? Do you agree with the Cuddlist theory, concept, business idea? Or do you think it's a load of hogwash, hey? None of that woo-woo stuff for me, you're saying? I'm too tough for that. I don't think you are. You're listening to this show, you're a motivated business owner. You are open to everything. I'd love to know what floated your boat in that chat. So head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, episode 302, and let me know how you feel. Big hugs. Some wise soul once said, curiosity is the spark behind the spark of every great idea. The future, well, it belongs to the curious. Well, there you go, team. That would be just about the end of episode 302. Hope you enjoyed it. Plenty of marketing gold coming your way, though, in the weeks ahead. Next week, the tables are turned when past guest and friend of this show, Melissa Maker, interrogates me, and I do like being interrogated by Melissa between you and I, about exactly what I've done and how I've gone about building my successful speaking business. She wants to be a speaker herself, and I tell her how I've done it. Hey, big hugs. See what I did there? To Net Registry and key person of influence for making this show possible. Be sure to use Net Registry for your website, just basically to get your whole online marketing sorted, really. Head over to netregistry.com.au/Timbo and do grab a seat at the upcoming Key Person of Influence Brand Accelerator Day in Melbourne or Sydney. Brisbane sold out. Wow, they're good, those guys. keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Hey, thanks to editor extraordinaire Daryl Delirious Misson for hearing me out. Hey, if you'd like to utilise Dazza for your own podcast, email me, tim@timreid.com.au. And a big man hug to Lockie Dolly. Tough hug, just blokes, bumping chests, for creating the soundtrack of my life, Lockie. Well, not my life, but of this show anyway. You can check Lockie out over at lockiedolly.com. Hey, if you need a speaker for an upcoming event, I'm all yours. Love doing that. But until next time, have a great week. Thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. Be sure to pay it forward. Tell someone you love. Tell another business owner you think could do with a hug. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.